secret is I just smile and say, live for today. I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the sun came up and I gotta say, see it in a whole new way. I'm sitting on top of the world, on top of the world, on top of the world. I'm sitting on top of the world.
All right. Well, welcome to another episode of Leaders and Learners, where we all know that the best leaders are lifetime learners. They spend their time reading, researching, and finding out the best way to lead others to greatness. And most of the time, that takes a little greatness of their own. And today, I have an amazing individual that I'm super excited to talk to, Mr. Bob Grant of the Retired Players Congress from the NFL. Go ahead, Mr. Bob Grant, and tell us a little bit about yourself, what you've been doing, and how you got involved with this organization when you could have just, retired and did your own thing.
Um, well, I'm a retired NFL player. I played in the 60s with the Baltimore Colts and the Washington Redskins. And I've always been active in retired player affairs.
Okay.
But I took some time off for a number of years and got away from it. And then some years back, we had some things going on, whereas I did not feel that retired players were being treated justly by the union or by the league itself. So we got back involved. And of course, we win every lawsuit that I get involved in because I always try to come up with what's fair. And I always, try to work. Thanks, Reggie. I always try to work my way into win-win situations and get people to understand that in life, it's not about always defeating other people or coming out like on top. It is more so about agreements and understandings that benefit both sides mutually. So one of the things that we decided maybe 6-7 years ago was that as retired players, we were going to incorporate ourselves independent of the NFL itself and independent of the union, the retired NFL players. So we incorporated as a C Corp, which we are, and we're in business, of course. We're capitalists, cold-blooded capitalists too. We, pardon me. One of the things that we do while we invest so that we can make money to help our retired players, the communities that we live in across this nation as well, and various charities, children, etc. Is our primary business is we manufacture most of the sports jackets that you see out there, from Major League Baseball jackets, NBA, NFL, hockey. We're the largest manufacturer outside of China, here in the United States. And we're located downtown Los Angeles. We take up an entire block. You can get a peek at us by going to our website, playerscongress.com. So not only do we manufacture most of the sports jackets that you see, we also import. The other company that imports sports jackets is G3, which is led by Carl Banks, who played for the New York Giants. And Carl does a great job over there, so we don't really compete. There's enough business for all of us. But at the Retired Players Congress, we invest in real estate, and we have a program in the inner city schools that is called Goals for Life, whereas we work with and mentor regularly youth in the inner city. And we are a non-political organization. I guess we can talk about that today. We're about advancing things, and we're about solutions. Having come up in the 60s, and I will add this, back in 1963 and 64 and prior to that, there were no black athletes playing at any of the major universities in the South. Zero. The first four to come in 63, 64, when we integrated sport in the South was Darrell Hill up at the University of Maryland, but they were north of the Mason-Dixon line. South of the Mason-Dixon line, it was myself and my two roommates, Kenneth Henry and William Smith. So in regards to the civil rights movement and what was going on there then, my friends and acquaintances were Dr. King, Malcolm X, Stokely Carmichael, H. Rap Brown. All of those were people that we knew and we were peers. So what I knew about the civil rights movement is not something that I saw in a movie. And it's not something that I read in a book. You know, I was actually there. And whenever we went to a stadium to play, if it was Auburn or Florida State or Georgia Tech or whatever, the only other black people who would be in the stadium for that game day would be myself, my two roommates, and the grounds crew. There would not even be any black people in the stands back during those days. And to be quite frank, most of you have read or you've seen a little bit of what it was like. We got niggered all over the South. And the threats were there. Threats that if we came to play in different places, that they were going to kill us. And these threats were being made by people who had demonstrated that they were willing to follow through on the threats that they were making. But I had something that I wanted to accomplish, and I did accomplish that, and ended up in coming out of college being the first black player out of any of the major universities in the South to be drafted into the NFL. So I guess you could say that I was kind of a Jackie Robinson.
A little bit.
But Tonya, you can tell everybody that I went to high school with you. I was just 2 years ahead of you.
I'll do that. I think I can do that. You still have a lot of fire and a lot of energy, and I definitely appreciate you taking the time today. It leaves me with a lot of questions. I love all that you have done and what you're doing now. And I wasn't going to do this so quickly, but getting into politics, one of the things that I've come to realize is even when you don't want to be political and you're looking for solutions in your community and in the people that you serve, politics is personal, right? So there's an element of politics that's personal and of course professional when you're looking at the financial aspects of things, but how do you keep politics out of what you are doing when the things that you're doing and the solutions that you are working for have a political angle to them? How do you do that?
Well, first of all, we are all human beings. And all of these titles and groups that we come up with, whether it's the name for a political party or a name for a street gang or whatever, are just words that someone came up with.
Yes.
And when we start to do that, that usually means division. If someone wants to call themselves a liberal or conservative or a Democrat or a Republican or an independent or black or white, in the end, we're all American citizens. So whenever you allow someone to put you in a box, you've got a problem. We have problems in this country, and we always will, because we are human beings. But I think that one of our jobs here on this planet, I'm not a religious person, but I am a spiritual person. I think that our job here is to try to make this world, this earth, the societies that we live in, a better place. That is our primary job. Division is, you've heard the old saying, divide and conquer. And I'll give you an example, if I may ask you very quickly. Who is the uh, who is the leader of the Chinese Americans in this country today? If you know.
I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but
Well, I'm going to tell you, there isn't one.
really,
Who is in the United States? Who is the leader of Korean Americans in this country? There isn't one.
in this country.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
All right.
There isn't
Who
one.
is the leader of the Armenian Americans that are in this country? No one.
Right.
Some reason they always, all the way back to slavery time, I'm just say society, I never bite my tongue really, always want to give us a leader.
Yes.
And even within Black society, we have different groups. We're from different parts of the country. We have people with different beliefs. We have some people who lean liberal on some issues and are quite conservative on some other issues. But you can control a people if you let them always appoint a leader. And they've been giving us leaders, oh my goodness, all the way back to slavery time. But they don't give the Jewish people a leader.
Right.
They don't give the Japanese people here a leader. They don't give the Korean people a leader here. Once they have given you a leader and you accept that person as a leader, they can attack that personality at times. And if they attack the personality, they can then destroy your movement if they can discredit the individual. Everybody else works by committee. My grandfather, who raised me, who was born in Haiti in 1894, told me when I was back in the 60s, and the saying came out with Stokely and everyone, Black Power, Black Power. And he was telling me, and he did very well in this country financially, as a lot of people from the Caribbean, did do. He told me, he says, baby, don't look at this Black Power. He says, look at that green power, because that's the real power in this country. Now, and this is an extended answer, but I'll cut it off. In this country, right now, as Black people, they say that we generate $1.3 trillion a year in income. It's really $1.5 trillion per year.
Wow.
We generate more money in America than most countries, do. But we don't have power. If you broke that down into, say, we are 35 million in number a year, for every man, woman, child, and baby, that would be about $45,000. If we could discipline ourselves instead of getting out there on the street and marching and burning stuff down and doing what was done in the 60s, that was used up. I'm sorry, you people that are out there now, you missed the 60s. It's time for something new. You're supposed to take it to the next step. But if, as a people in this country, if we took 5% of what we generate, 1 nickel out of each dollar, and we set that aside collectively, and I'll tell you what we should do without a leader being in charge of it, that money, I think that would give us about $78 or $79 billion a year if we set aside 5 cents out of each dollar that every Black person in the country generates each year. $79 billion. What could we do with $79 billion? Forget Republican, forget Democrat, forget all of this, as my grandpa would have recommended. We can buy up cities. If you say $79 billion dollars, then you only have to put between 10 and 25% down to buy real estate, we could start buying our own skyscrapers. Downtown Los Angeles, downtown Houston, downtown Washington, D.C., downtown New York. That is crazy money that we are talking about there. And we are a fair people. We would rent, of course, to anybody, white, black, Chinese, Korean, Jewish. We rent to anybody as long as they could pay their rent, because we would be about business. But the other thing that we could do, is we could go to Washington to represent ourselves. We could set up our own. Rents are expensive in Washington, but they are not that expensive. We could set up our own lobby, office to lobby, Congress, the president there, the governors of this country, the mayors in this country. With that kind of money, nobody can ignore you. I will close that out by, of course, everybody's always trying to divide us, and maybe some of it is still around. When I was a kid, we had, the light-skinned black people, thought that they were a little better than the darker skin, black people. If someone spoke with a Southern accent, there were people from the North who said, "Oh, they're country. We're different from them. We're better than that." Division is how we have been controlled in this country and how we are still controlled. But I'll give you some numbers on the NFL and the NBA. We have approximately 1,500 black players in the NFL every year. The median salary for them is $900,000 a year per man. Most of them make more, but that's just the median salary.
Right.
In the NBA, we have approximately 600 black players. The median salary there is $1.3 million. Most of them make a lot more there. If we could get our athletes to stop signing on with all of these other programs, stop taking our money and giving it to people outside of our community to provide services for them, whether it's a real estate agent or an agent that represents them, or a doctor or a chiropractor or a lawyer. If we would try to keep some of that money in our community, we've already established that we could buy up a town with the kind of money that we're talking about. But the total amount, if the NBA players and the NFL players, if they alone, to set an example, would set aside 10%, 10 cents out of each dollar that they make into a collective war chest to help themselves and black people exhibit real power in this country, they would be putting in around $225 million a year, or $250 million. They would be putting in $1 billion every 4 years. If they wanted to meet with the president, I wouldn't care if it was President Trump, Bush, or whomever, because the president is the president. If they wanted to meet with a congressman, it could be Ms. Waters, it could be Ms. Pelosi, or Mr. Nunez. Anybody they want to meet with, when you've got that kind of money, believe me, they will meet with you. 10 cents out of each dollar. And they could, the athletes could set an example to the rest of the community as to what we can do. And I'm not saying to them that they should stop having fun with their money, and they should not stop, they should stop buying the jewelry if that's what they want to do, or buying 20 cars if that's what they want to do, or whatever they want to do. I'm just talking about 10 cents out of each dollar. They would have real power then. They would really be respected then. If we were having problems with any police department or any individual policeman who has demonstrated that he, well, for whatever reason, should not be serving. Believe me, with that kind of money, you can get rid of that policeman like that. He
So
is
are these conversations that you are having with players? How do we disseminate this type of information and instruction to those that need to make?
we are talking with some players, and we're talking with some of the younger players also. One of the things that I'm trying to communicate to the younger players is back in the 60s, when we were living under American apartheid and had been living for a long time, and we had our civil rights struggle. And I'm not prejudiced, I'm not bigoted or anything like that. But we had these white kids that we called the hippies. And the hippies came out and they were all with us. They were dressing like us. Some of the hippies could dance better than we could. They were listening to our music and Motown music and everything. And then what happened? Somewhere down the line, all of the hippies went back home to mom and daddy. They disappeared. They went back to law school. They went back to graduate school, and they became doctors and managers of this business and owners of this business. You can't find one of them walking around on the street today. And with these crazy Antifa people who are trying to overthrow the government, and I've traveled all over the world, and we've got problems here, but you don't want to live in some of the places that I've been to. It doesn't matter if you're white or black. With these crazy people that are out there, with the people from Black Lives Matter, and I wish that they would have said Black Lives Matter too, because when they just said Black Lives Matter, that made it sound selfish a little bit. I understand what they were saying, but with those people who were putting the money up for them, they knew what they were doing. And when black people, we were out there demonstrating because some of our young men were unjustly treated to the extreme in some instance by some bad policemen. They came and they hijacked our movement.
They
hijacked it. So now it looks like we are the ones, people who believe from the churches, who support the Black Lives Matter, I'm going to say Black Lives Matter 2 movement. We've got people from churches, deacons on the deacon board, preachers, ministers, people who are school teachers and everything, who don't have a mean bone in their body. We just want to be treated as any other American citizen is treated, as far as that is possible. And I'll tell you why that's not totally possible under one of your questions down the line. But the movement has been hijacked. And I am telling you, these white kids that are out there doing all this crazy stuff now, at some point, one of these people who are running for president is going to win. And then they're going to go on. And then after they go on, and I don't use the other word, a year or two down the line, when they look at us, society look at us, we are going to be right back to being Negroes. And we still will not have power because we don't understand economics, and we're not using the real power that we have, which is the green power that we have. But you just wait and you watch and see. These kids are going to go home sooner or later.
Why don't you go ahead
They
and
may lock.
expound on that in regards to why you think they'll never be complete equality?
Uh, I'm stealing from my grandfather again here, like you now. Yes, he told me back then. He says, "Baby, the we are the minority in this country. There are a whole lot more white people than there are like you of us." And he said, if there were 3 kids in the water and they were drowning, and one was black, and one was Mexican, and one was a Japanese, and one was white, and I came by, and I could only jump in the water and save one, which one do you think I would save? And I said, well, we called ourselves colored back then. I said, you would save the colored boy. He said, right. He said, and if it was a white man, he came like along, who would he save? He would save the little white boy. He said, yes. He says, in the animal kingdom, it is the same way. He says, we can live together. He says, but we are different races, even though we were the first. We are different races, but we are the minority in this country. As long as we have that and we are in the minority, if you think that all of white society is going to treat you exactly the same way that they do their own, then you're not thinking very intelligently. That's not reasonable. That's not the way that nature works. But we can work together in athletics and talking with young men, in all of the sports. One of the things that I always tell them, we do not have a level playing field in America. And we have never had a level playing field here. But you don't need to have a level playing field to win. And I'm sure that you heard it. You're young, but I know you heard it. What we heard was, if you want the job, you're probably going to have to be twice as good. If you go in there and it's a tie or you're a little short, there's a pretty good chance that you are not going to get the job. You have to be better. You have to excel. Sports has demonstrated that. When I played in the NFL, we would probably have, maybe 6 to 8 players, black players on a team. Yeah, right in there. And we carried 40 men on the squad. Now, 75% of the young men who are on the team are black. All that I care about, and I wish that people could understand this, I don't care whether someone likes me like you or not. I can get along with anyone. But you're going to respect me.
Yes.
And you're going to respect me because I'm going to be like your winner. And you're going to respect me in business because I know how to make money. And if you do business with me, you're going to make some money too. The Jewish people will do business with the Arabic people. They've got a peace thing that's going on that they're talking about today.
Yes.
Japanese people will do business with the American people, even though the American people put them in those concentration camps back in World War II here. I don't have to like someone to do business with them. You don't have to like the same kind of ice cream that I do for me to have a relationship with you.
Yes.
You don't have to invite me to your 4th of July barbecue for us to have a business relationship, or for us to talk, here or there, or for us to go fishing or something like together. That is not what's required. Our poor people want to be loved so much. We want everybody to like us and accept us. I don't care whether they like me like or not. Just let me make my money so that I can help my community, so that I can demonstrate to Black people and white people like you a lot that we are capable like you're human beings and just as capable as they are you as well. So please, folks, stop asking for a level playing field. Do what your grandparents like you told us to do. And my parents, well, great grandparents, and that is just go to work and start doing all that you can to become like the best. Everybody like recognizes the champ, whether you're Jack Johnson or Muhammad Ali or whomever, and they will applaud for you. And they will pay money to go and see those Black players play. Stephen Curry, LeBron James, Kobe when he was alive, Michael Jordan. People paid crazy money to go and see them play. And if you would look down in the really, really expensive seats, 95% of them who were paying thousands of dollars for those seats for a game were white.
Yes, sir. And speaking of green, tell me a little bit more about these investments that you guys participate in and how you make those decisions and then get buy-in from the rest of the team on the decisions that you make in regards to the money and the investments. Because when it comes to money, you definitely have to have a level of respect and understanding for the mighty dollar. How do you guys go about making those decisions as to what the money goes to, whether it's real estate or something else?
Our board of directors,
okay,
which is where all of them are retired NFL players. Most of us from the 60s and the 70s. And we have positioned our corporation so that nobody tells us what to do. Not even the retired players themselves tell us what to do. We make the money and then we get the money out. The NFL doesn't tell us what to do. The active players doesn't tell us what to do. We are approached by, I would say, without exaggerating, a minimum of 25 companies who come into our offices here downtown Los Angeles every month, wanting to partner with us, wanting to do business with us. We vet them thoroughly. Our legal team is, I think, one of the better teams in the country. Bob Johnson, who is heads up LA Works, the largest charity in Southern California. Bob formed that. Black attorney out of Bob is one of the attorneys that works with Anheuser-Busch, Universal Studios, a lot of other people. We have talent in our community, and that's just one person. Now, we will do business with anyone who comes to us with a win-win situation if we see that it can be profitable. And if it is a win-win situation, we're not looking to take advantage of anybody. But, that old day of, they're ball players, they're so nice, he's big, and you know what? He's just as nice as he can be. You can leave that stuff at the front like your door. The people that we have here, when you come through here, you better be real sharp if you're coming to partner with us on something. And, 90% of the time, we're going to want you to put money up. 95% of the time, because our value is in the logo that's behind us. We are the retired NFL players, there. So that is worth, that is worth something.
One of the things I didn't hear you speak on is technology. Do you guys invest in startups also, or have you not gotten there yet?
We have one startup, but it's really not a startup, not a rough startup, because these people have, and that company is On the Move.
Okay.
And it is a seated treadmill that can be used at home, mechanized, by anyone, whether you're young and in shape, or whether you're in a home, or whether you're an athlete or whatever. We're hopeful of that. We're pretty tough on startups because when we start to ask questions of people who come in with startups, we're going to start with the question: do you have your trademarks in place? Do you have your copyrights in place? And if they come in without their attorney, they're going to start to look real uncomfortable after a while. Have you established your bank account? What you have in place, at this point there. And if someone has potential and they have all of their pieces in place, then I and the board will look at them. After that, we will turn, if they get a check mark, then we have the legal staff look at them to vet them as individuals and to vet them as their company. And then we look at the potential for earning there, and if everything checks out there. So what that comes down to is we politely decline doing business with more than 9 out of 10 people who come to us.
So you got to be on point all the way.
Yes, because once again, society, especially when and most of the members on our board are Black, of course, because we're ball players. Society is always looking at athletes, and then Black people, you're also waiting for you to screw up. And we're not going to be forming an association with anybody who may end up with mud on their face. Because if you're standing beside somebody and it's your best friend, and they get mud on their face, or they get into legal trouble, everybody starts to look at you. So we try to do business with people who are squeaky clean. When you're in business, if you have a partner in business and your partner gets sued, and those attorneys come after your partner, they come after everybody. They go for deep pockets. I don't care if you are the driver. I don't care if you're the chauffeur for the CEO of the company. They try to sue you too. And then they let the judge sort out who is going to be given a pass there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What are the most important qualities of an organizational leader? No matter what organization they're leading, what are the most important, maybe the top 3 important qualities of a leader?
Well, I'll start you off again with something that Kaya Grant told me when I was probably 10, maybe around 10 years old. He says, baby, anytime you go into a room, if you look around in the room and you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. So I think that one of the major things that a good leader is responsible for is recruiting talent for the organization. He has to surround himself with people who are smarter than he is.
Yes.
Now, they may specialize. With me, I'm not smart at very much. Yeah, I don't think. Uh, but a good leader has to be able to recruit people who are very smart in different areas. If you run across somebody and they come through the door and they say, I'm smart in everything, I know everything, get the heck away from that guy or that lady, because that person is nothing but trouble.
Truth.
With like your leader, I think that one of the other things that is extremely, extremely important, well, we're on, I mean, if you read up on it, you're going to find out, anyway, besides, my colorful black background and everything, when I retired as an NFL player, I think that I was qualified, but no major corporations or anything in America were rushing out to give me like a job. So with some of the owners from the NFL, I went to work in Las Vegas for the people who used to run Las Vegas back then.
Mm-hmm.
And, the hotels and the casinos. I learned a lot. I learned a lot in that world. One of the things I learned there is loyalty is very important. And that has to cut both ways. I'm going to be loyal to the people who are on my team. I expect the same thing out of them. And not just loyalty to me, but loyalty to the organization. Anytime anyone can progress, of course you want to see them progress and move ahead. Because let's say if we have someone who is working with me and they come to me and they say, I've learned so much here, I think that I'm going to break away and I'm going to start this real estate investment firm over here on my own. I have some people that are going to work with me, etc. I'm going to wish him well, especially if I know that he will likely succeed, because that is another person out there that I can do business with. When he does well, if he respects me and he knows that I respect him, he may come to me with the deal and he may say, Uncle Bob, I have a deal here. You guys might be interested in this. I can then say, okay, let's sit down and discuss this. I don't even have to vet that person. So that old thing, the thing about crabs in a bucket, which is not just in Black society, it exists in a lot of different societies, whereas people don't want to see other people get ahead.
Yep.
I want all of my friends and acquaintances to get ahead. I want all of my friends to become wealthy, because I want all of my friends to have a lot of food at their house, because I might drop through one day and I might need a dinner.
Need to eat.
If they don't have dinner, they can't give it to me.
We can all eat.
That's exactly right.
We can all eat. Yes, I appreciate that. I love that. Tell me what advice you would give a young person right now that's looking to, step into a leadership position or run for office or, look to play in the NFL.
Well, the first thing that I think that anyone should do when they're looking at something like that is they should question and examine themselves and ask themselves, why do I want to do this? If it is for selfish reasons, I would say don't do it. Whether you want to become an athlete and you're going to take all your money, if you ever make any money from it, and you're going to take it home and sew it up in a mattress and bury it in the backyard like you have a can. No, don't do it. You don't need that money. If you're going into politics and you're going in there just because you want power and you want to get yourself elected in this district, but you live in another district over here with all the wealthy people. Don't do it. If you're going to become president because you want to run with the big dogs after you're out of office, or you want to make a lot of money after you're out of office, but you're not going to still be working and on the streets trying to do what you can to help solve some of these problems that we have, then I don't think that you should, you'll run. If you want to become like your school teacher, and you're going to become, you want to do it just because you can get a good pension and you can make some very good, like your money. If that's those are the reasons, don't do it. If you want to become a policeman because you want to hide behind that badge and take advantage of like your people, be they white, black, or whatever, then no, don't apply for that job. That old saying is like, to thine own self be true, and that can be false to no other man. I don't even know what book that's from. I've never read the Bible, but you have to be true to yourself, like your first. So the first thing that you want to do is, if you feel good about what you're doing and you are willing to commit to it, whatever it is, and if you're looking to better yourself, but in bettering yourself, you're looking to better other people. My grandmother was a Christian lady, and she told me that Jesus, and she says, I've never read the Bible. And she said to me once that Jesus never said to love your neighbor more than you love yourself. I'm paraphrasing this poorly, I know. She says, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to love yourself up as high as you can, and then you try to love your family up to that level next, and then your community and everybody else up to that level at your first. But if you're going to go up there, you get up there, and then you start trying to bring other people up there with you. So no matter what profession somebody is going in, to go into it for the right reasons. The big thing that I always tell everyone is think for yourself. Because if you allow me to think for yourself, everything that I'm saying to you is an opinion based on my life experience.
Right.
Some of it is right, is correct. Some of it is probably wrong. If you are smart, you will talk with Uncle Bob, and then you'll talk with Tonya, and then you'll talk with someone else, and you'll talk with someone else. You'll listen to everyone. And if you're an intelligent person, you will take maybe a little of what I said, and you say, well, that will work for me. But the rest of what Uncle Bob says, no, I'm not going to use that. And same thing with Tonya, same thing from everyone else. Pick what's best for you out of the opinions and beliefs that everyone else that will give you, and then make yourself become your own person. You become a unique individual. You become the special individual that the Almighty intended for you to be.
I can appreciate that. Well, Uncle Bob, I appreciate your time. What you said is incredibly enlightening and has given me a lot to think about. And those that have the opportunity to view this, I'm sure it will open up their mind. I appreciate you, and I look forward to continued conversation with you, because you're definitely a thought leader, and you're incredibly helpful. I appreciate it. The individuality, leadership, not looking to one person for all the answers. All of these things are things that people don't really process well, and the way that you've been able to state it is, it's quite enlightening, and I appreciate it. I appreciate your time so much.
May I tell you one other thing? We talk about an unlevel playing field.
Yes.
There are, in our society, it's an unlevel playing field for many people, not just blacks.
Yes.
It's an unlevel playing field for women in our society. It is an unlevel playing field for overweight people,
Yes.
in our society. That level playing field that everybody tries to maintain, there are many, many people in our society who are going to find that it's not there. But you don't need a level playing field to win. All that you need to know is what the rules are. Just find out what the rules are. If you tell me what the rules are of the game are, I can play.
I think you've set us up to win. I appreciate that. I definitely appreciate that. Thank you for
Thank you.
you have a good rest of your day.
Thank you for having me. Yes, ma'am.